Hey, so this is Mike back with talking tickets again tonight with Sean. He'll be checking in. I know we had a big week with some big auction houses, some ridiculously large sales. Kind of took me by surprise, and I'm sure some other people. But I know we're going to talk a lot about that tonight and some other stuff. So let me see. All right, there's Sean now. See if you can connect to. Let me see. There it is.
Mike,
Hey, how are you?
good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again. How you doing out there in Seattle?
Doing okay. It's a little cold, rainy, gloomy. That's just how it is here this
Yeah,
time of year.
kind of like the Seahawks team.
Yeah. Yeah, we've Seahawks fans have pretty much just given up on them.
They've mailed it in. Looking for that
Yeah.
high draft pick now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while since we got that. So,
Yeah, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I feel like Rangers fan. Pretty tough being a Rangers fan now, but we
yeah,
got Luka for the Mavs, so I guess we got that going
you got
for us.
something. Yeah, at least you have a basketball team.
So I was kicking off some massive auction sales this weekend, huh?
Yeah, some real shockers. What was your main takeaway from the Heritage auction?
Well, I was going to kind of go through that. I guess we can start with the Heritage auction because it's fresh on our minds. And I kind of pulled it up, and I'll kind of go through everything. But the ones that I thought would go high, there are just so many that went up. There's a few of them that were insanely high, and I'm just like, what? I want to get your thoughts on. I'll go to the top one. So I got it pulled up here, and I'll just show you the first one that just blew my mind. So let me flip it around. So the first one that blew my mind was this one.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady, full ticket, 10, auto 10, right? First TD pass, not his first game, not his first debut, not his first start, not when he came in for Bledsoe. If I told you before this auction started, what would have been your guess that this sold for?
10,000? Yeah. Yeah.
144,000.
Yeah. So
Thought,
what do you think? What do you think when you see that?
man, I don't know. I think the 10 and the 10, and you maybe had a buyer that I can't think it's a hardcore ticket person. I'm thinking like either a hedge fund money manager, stupid rich money person buying it.
Yeah.
You hear things about market manipulation, like you heard about video games. I don't know how true all that is. It's just a number that I thought was absolutely insane. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Patrick Ryan posted about that and saying
Right.
we've kind of moved into a territory of market manipulation and speculation, and I don't disagree. That's if you're into ticket stubs or tickets and you have that much money to spend, probably the most important thing to do is to avoid buying or to be careful of buying something that could be more could come out, and
Right.
and we know that this is a fairly common ticket, and obviously the fact that it's a PSA 10 is really the driver, I assume, right? And it's something.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're starting to see now is full tickets are, a major premium and of course tens. And this had checked all three boxes.
Yeah.
But I mean, given what it is, like I said, we would have guessed maybe 10,000, but we see 144,000.
Yeah.
And that kind of, draws me to the next ticket. And I'll show it on here, which I love. This is like one of my favorite tickets. It's the Brady for Bledsoe. This one went for a 9, PSA 9, auto 9. This is way more than I thought, but I mean, this is kind of within the realm. Yes, way more than I would have expected.
Right.
But 50,000.
Okay, so being into tickets and you follow this stuff all the time, how many more of those are out there than are actually graded. right?
Right.
There's a
There's a
lot
lot
of those
out
out there.
there. I think fulls are hard to find and high quality is hard to find.
Right,
But
but there's
yeah, they're
entire books. Like people have
right.
books of these.
Hmm.
It's not uncommon to find that because they were scanned. So I who knows what condition it's in. It's like PSA, how they determine what a 10 is versus a 9. Who knows? But this is just a 9, $51,000. I mean, don't you think that as long as you have access to Brady as signatures, then you could more of these could come out and the market
Right.
could get flooded?
Right. And and here's another one, which is interesting. It's the Brady. Um, this was his first start, full ticket, 10 auto 10. 28,000. So we got the first start 10 10, and we got this 10 10, 144,000. Right. So I mean, what?
And what was why would it makes no sense. That doesn't make it because it's just first career touchdown versus first start.
Right. And
Like,
this is where you start to question things like, okay, this 144, as much as we would like to see tickets go to astronomical prices that we own and we could sell for that price. I mean, look, this is kind of hilarious. We go through this. I'm going to show you what I bought like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Does this look familiar?
Yeah. Is that
Auto, example 5, auto 10. I have the first start, 8, auto 8, and they haven't had the other one. So I'm like, if I could get 122,000 or even half that, I mean, all day, every day, right? So it's like we're saying all this, and I own these tickets.
Yeah, yeah. I know. It's who knows, and how with cards, there's these companies that do all the stats on and the prices, and so you have a good idea because they can throw out anomalies, statistical anomalies, but you can't really do that with tickets because there's just not enough sales volume, and so you see these, which to me these are statistical anomalies, but you can't really throw them out because then what would you use? There's not really anything else.
Yeah, I mean, the 144 and the 50, when you get to the 28 and there's another one that's 11. But I mean, is that the world we're in right now? I know you texted me that the other day, and it's just like, is that really the world we're in? And, here's a good example of, a Brady signed, first Super Bowl, mid 9, auto mid 9. 9,300. Okay, that's kind of what the ballpark we would be thinking, right?
Yeah. But with Super Bowl tickets, there's just so many of them.
Right.
Because everybody saves their Super Bowl tickets, so there's probably thousands of that ticket. Not necessarily as a 9, but wasn't that authentic? Yeah, it was just an authentic ticket.
Yeah, authentic with the auto 9. So I mean, it's still a very, very nice price.
Right. Because everybody who owns one of these, as long as they can get Tom Brady to sign it, they probably tripled the value of it or quadrupled.
Right.
And,
and that's something we talked about a while, how we're seeing tickets that are autographed just kind of go through the roof.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I don't think that that's sustainable. I think that that is the market is going, because everybody's looking at this and saying, I can send a ticket into a private signing and send it to Heritage after that. So why not do it? It's a great way to flip it and make a lot of money. So I think that the market, what we're going to see in the next few months probably is a lot of these hitting, right? And then it's going to stabilize or correct, I guess.
Right. So I think people will see these prices and be like, holy cow, I put my ticket up for auction tomorrow if I get anything close to this. So you'll start, and then more tickets starting to get graded, and they're coming out quick. You pay the $50 per ticket fee, we're getting them back in a month, which is pretty surprising. So we're going to start seeing these pop reports, start to go up.
Right. And the people who are in this, who are into cards and we're flipping cards using PSA, you can't do that, and you haven't been able to do that in the last 6 months because PSA closed down. So, but you can do that with tickets if you can get them autographed, right? So it's only a matter of time before people realize that, and if they haven't already, and it's gonna be a flood of, and I just don't think there's enough ticket collectors to support it, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I feel like demand does go up every day, and it's just is supply gonna, outstretch demand? Are we gonna keep getting people interested in the hobby? Time will tell, but I do feel like the super rare tickets, like here's an example. We talked about this a little bit through text, was the Gretzky debut,
Yeah.
which went for 101,000. And I know this is a crazy number, and I can kind of see it, but I understand it because I feel like this is a proper. It's iconic player. It's a debut. The numbers will stay low forever. Maybe it gets a 10 to 20. I'm sure I think the pop report. Do you know what the pop report on this is?
It's 10 right now, but 2 of them are signed.
Right.
There's 2 signed,
right.
So 8 unsigned.
So we'll see more of these probably pop out. I feel like that's way more sustainable price-wise than what, kind of those autographed Brady tickets.
But if you remember, I don't know if you remember it, but I might have said something about it, but earlier this year, that same ticket as a 7 was sold for $12,000 something.
Right, and that's just crazy. I mean, 8 times multiplier on a ticket that's marked half the grade.
That sort of escalation isn't sustainable.
Right.
At some point, it has to level off, and
I think you kind of saw that in cards. I know it peaked, 6-9 months ago, like when that Jordan rookie PSA 10 went for 700,000, right? And then it came back down to 350, stabilized around 250.
Yeah,
which sounds crazy in itself. And I wonder if that's kind of what we're going to see with tickets, where we kind of test the upper limits of what somebody will buy, and then tickets will start entering the market, and we'll see more of a. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
No, I completely agree. I think that I follow the card market too, or at least I did back then, and that's what happened. And with the Jordan, like you referenced, there's quite a few of those out there. Those 320 or so, and so every time it went up, then you'd see a bunch of them hit the market because people were in on it for 50,000 or something. They wanted 100 or whatever. With tickets, it's a little bit different. Not with all of them, with some of them, where there are quite a few. I think that some of those Brady's, but also we didn't talk about it, but in the Heritage auction, the Tiger Woods tickets, there's quite a few of those out there, and
I know exactly. You have one too, right? How fast would you sell this for $50,000 in a heartbeat?
Absolutely. I mean, but the thing is, just what, two months ago, those were selling for $2,000.
Yeah, I think I bought mine for $2,500, $3,000, and I was like, man, I think I overpaid for it. But I do like that, better than the other ones, because I feel like that's his true debut, where he was his first time set on a golf course. He's played a bunch when he made his pro debut. It's like, oh, you can start making money now. Your professional debut begins. But, for those who are watching, here's the auction. It's the exact same ticket. Like, literally authentic, 51,000, which is mind-blowing. Before this auction started, what would you have thought that would have went for?
3, 4, because they just sold. You can look at the eBay past sales, and there was just 3 or 4 of them that sold for between $2,000 and $3,000, and it's the same one. It's the yellow version. Like, I don't know, I don't have mine handy, but mine's the yellow version of it. There's yellow and blue, and it was just selling for that. So that's what I would expect it to sell for. I'm with you on that. That I think the first PGA event is more significant than when he went pro. And I think he had that press conference and he said, "Hello world." I think that's where that one from. Right. And Tiger Woods, when he went pro, was really hyped. That changed golf. And And so people would have more likely saved their ticket for that reason than in 1992 when he was 16 years old and he was just an amateur playing, right? So you would think that there would be fewer of the 1992 ones.
Right.
But who knows? I'm biased because that's the one I have. But that's the
Right.
one
I like that one. I have the other one. I don't have it as a full, and we'll show it here.
Yeah.
So this is the pro debut we're talking about, and Heritage had about 5 or 6 of these fulls, as high as a 6 and as low as authentic. And they had a really cool one too, which was the autographed one from his early autograph. It was a practice round ticket. That was a 16,000. But the highest one, if I can find it, went for, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable, 87,000.
Yeah.
It is the highest graded, but I mean, is this the world we're in now? Like we think it's crazy, but is this where tickets are going?
What's your take on that? The grade mattering that much? Because like you pointed out, 87,000 for a PSA 8. The PSA 3, same auction, same ticket.
Right.
It looks great. It looks, eye appeal is the exact same thing. Went for 3,600.
I think it's just that big, crazy hedge fund, billionaire, not billionaire, but, investor money is saying, I want the best, and I'm willing to pay what it takes to get the best, the highest grade, the nicest.
And you think that's justified? Like, do you think the market is the same as cards where the grade, like the difference in a card, a sports card,
right,
8 and a 3 is huge, no matter what the card is. Do you think that it's that same principle applies with tickets?
I think it does to a point. I think, if it's the highest graded, if it's the best one, it's the only one the best, yes. If there's multiple out there, if there's a 9 and then there's a couple of 8s and the 7, I don't think a 9 should go for 87 and an 8 go for 35, but I mean, it's not what I want. It's what people with big time money want. Right. And they want to say, I have the best. This is what I have. I have the nicest ticket.
Yeah, I agree. It's, I think it's an unanswered question that we don't know yet. It's kind of playing out. To me, in my opinion, doesn't matter because, I don't control the market, but I really don't care that much about the grade. I mean, obviously, if all else was equal, I'd prefer the higher grade, but the eye appeal is what matters to me. And if it looks good, then I'm happy with it. Because tickets were originally produced to be kind of held and handled, unlike cards where you want it to be in as good a condition as possible. So that's just my opinion. I don't really care that much about the grade. I definitely wouldn't pay that much more for a better grade. I would want the copy of the ticket. So I don't know. But
the other kind of points I've seen online is talking about, say, the market cap of a Giannis rookie card, PSA 10. If you take the number of cards times the value, and then you take the number of PSA 10s of Giannis tickets, and multiply the number of tickets by the value, it's infinitely, it's a tiny, tiny fraction. And they're like, oh, it has more room to run, compared to cards. And it's like, well, is that true? Or are the cards overpriced? Is it tickets and cards just two different worlds? There's many times over more card collectors and ticket collectors. I mean, what do you think of that?
Right.
Market cap value theory.
I think that's dependent on having a lot of collectors and a lot of people in the game. And I don't think that that's necessarily where tickets are right now. It might be moving that direction, but it's like the ticket collecting world is so small that you and I know a lot of them personally.
Right.
And you can like name them. You can't do that with cards. There's high dollar buyers of cards that who knows who they are. They might be in different countries and all over. There might be companies. Who knows? But with tickets, it's still a small world. So it's harder to kind of gauge things that way. But who knows?
But I feel like the big LeBron James collector, the big Tiger collector, the big iconic player collectors, they have their Jordan PSA 10. Well, what more do they want? Well, guess what? Maybe I want his debut ticket. I want this ticket. I want Tiger's debut. And I think that is where the iconic players, the rare tickets, the debuts will be, pretty sustainable, and maybe not the top tier guys, but then again, it's supply and demand. How much will the demand go up, and how much will the supply of these tickets go up when people start seeing these prices?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's one of the things that's always appealed to me about tickets, like that it has cross collecting appeal in that
Right.
it's not just ticket collectors that want this stuff. It's super collectors of certain players or teams or events that they remember, and they think it's really cool to have it, because most collectors are not just narrowly specific to one niche of memorabilia, right? They like it all. Everybody likes it all. I like it all. So the tickets do have a wider appeal, and you're right. It's how long is it going to take for everybody to kind of realize that they can buy them, they can grade them, all of the same things. And it's happening. It's definitely happening. You see it so much more. I don't know if it's just because I'm paying attention closer, or if it's that more people are into it, but it seems like it.
I definitely have seen more of a buzz online, like different, online collectors or people who do little podcasts kind of mentioning it, talking about it, making YouTube videos, kind of, like a sports card investor, start buying Super Bowl tickets. I think it's definitely piqued people's interest. And when they start seeing these large sales, more of the speculators come in. When I first started collecting, I would have said it was 80-90% collectors, 10 to 20% speculators. And now I feel like you're starting to see that shift where more people are buying to resell, like we saw in cards. Maybe 60% collectors, 40% speculators, something like that. I mean, what do you feel like the numbers are?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I agree. It's definitely going up, and it used to be, even before, like years ago, it was just all collectors,
Right.
and then the prices were kind of reasonable. But now you're seeing more the percentage increase of investors. And I don't know what exactly an investor is. I think that it's kind of, mixed as far as flippers. When you say investor, are you talking about somebody who's just buying for the purpose of reselling?
Right. Somebody that, is just buying for 100% purpose to sell to somebody else at a later date.
Right. Not to just hold it and.
Right. Not saying I'm buying this because I love this ticket. I love this player. I have no intention on selling it anytime soon. Like, I would say you're a 100% collector and I'm, a 60-70% collector, 20-30% investor. But of course, we see opportunity or something of value, we'll buy it and then possibly use it for trade or maybe sell it.
Yeah. It's interesting, and obviously it's those people or those organizations or whatever they are kind of moving in on it, and but for some reason they really focus on heritage and golden.
Yes, one thing I've noticed is heritage and golden seem to be the best, but if you have something top notch, like rare, iconic, like the Gretzky ticket, doesn't matter where it's at. People are going to find it. Like that Mantle ticket was on, I think, collect auctions.
Yeah.
And people bid it up to 100. So if you have something amazing, people are going to find it. It's going to get bid up.
So that's kind of gets back to my original point about if you have that kind of money and you want to invest it. My advice would be to find something that is already well established in terms of how much of it is out there. Right. And these autographed Tom Brady things are, you don't know how many more can come out, because Tom Brady is still alive and he can still sign his name, and they can still send him in and get him graded. So if you're doing that for investment, that's a mistake, in my opinion. So going for something like the Gretzky or a Mantle debut, or some other famous players' vintage ticket associated with them, or famous event that there's not that many of. That's what's going to sustain once the market kind of starts to correct. Because the same thing with cards, the cards that never go down in value are the ones that everybody wants and that are rare, like the high grade mantle, 52 mantle.
Right.
No matter what the market does, that those are going to sustain at least. Same with like the Wagner T206. Every time it comes up for auction, it breaks a new record because it's there's not that many out there and everybody wants it. So I don't know. That's my advice to all the flippers and investors out there. Just be careful.
Yeah, I like that because I think, you can't, it'd be hard to see those population reports really explode for those older tickets, pre-1985, 1980, but, the modern stuff, the 90s, I don't think the tails, it's over. I don't think, it's hard to know how many will come up, especially stuff from the 2010s.
Yeah, like anything with a barcode on it could have been printed out as a PDF. So those were saved and people kept them, collected them, and all that. Yeah, so it's hard to tell how many are out there, but you kind of, when you're in it as much as you and I are, you kind of have a feel for it because you see them, right? And so I can't tell you how many Tiger Woods Milwaukee Opens there are, but I can tell you there's a lot because I see them all the time. And I'm
they popped up.
Thing,
I've only seen a few. The LA Open one. We feel like is more rare.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, but I can tell you there's more of those out there than are graded for sure.
Oh, for sure, no doubt.
And quite a few. Whereas something like the Mantle debut, you don't see those very often. And the ones you do see, they're the same ones that you've seen before because you look at the seat number and stuff and you just recognize them. So, that's a different story. That's not going to pop in population just suddenly. So, yeah, that's, I think we agree on that. But moving on from that, going back to the Hunt auction that finished, and we talked a little bit about this last time we talked. There's a couple of tickets in that were interesting, but the main one that I was watching was the Hank Aaron debut.
Right.
And so the Mantle, the Mantle, there's 17 in the pop report.
Right.
And that Hank Aaron, there's 10. And that's a really nice looking one. Yeah, and it sold with the buyer's premium, it sold for $18,000.
Right, and something like that. I mean, if the real true blue market is a Brady autograph goes for 100 and a Tiger Woods debut goes for 50, like with the potential increase in population, like that Hank Aaron would be a steal at 15,000.
You think? So what do you think? Why do you think that happened?
Maybe, it was on Hunt auctions and not one of the bigger ones. I don't know if there was market manipulation on any of the heritage. Tiger Woods and Tom Brady are, super iconic. Hank Aaron's iconic, but not the same as, Brady.
Old Tiger Woods. Yeah.
Maybe all those factors. I always say this. I brought up market manipulation. I don't know if there was or not. It's just those numbers are so crazy. It just makes you wonder. I mean, that's it. That's why I bring that up. But something like that, Hank Aaron is more expected. I actually kind of thought would go for a little more. I was actually thinking 20 to 25,000.
Right. Yeah, that's what we had talked about, and that's kind of what I thought, around 25. And Hank Aaron's not as hyped as Mickey Mantle, but he's definitely one of the goats of baseball.
Right. Top 5, top 10, probably top 10 for sure.
Yeah, and the ticket itself is a road that they're playing in Cincinnati, so it doesn't have the Mantle has the Yankee logo on it, and so there's not as much appeal there.
You're struggling every day. I'm back. I'm here.
Right. So not as much appeal for that reason. And he's not a Yankee, of course.
Right. Just the following. But it is what it is.
But to compare it to remember a couple of months ago that Derek Jeter debut that was just a stub, a box office stub, sold at Golden for 26,000. I mean,
Crazy.
which one would you rather have?
Right, without question, the Hank Aaron, but man, Yankees and Jeters go crazy, but
Right, and that's,
to each their own. Some people just want different players.
Part of it, I think, is that the Yankees there's a lot of hardcore Yankee collectors out there, and I think part of it is the auction, because like we talked about before, it's a live auction, and live auctions are kind of tough because you have to actually sit and wait until your auction.
Yeah, that probably had something to do with it too.
Yeah, I actually won an auction in that a lot, and I won the first night game ticket in baseball history. And I thought that was really cool because it's scarce and it's kind of right up my alley. It's a vintage baseball ticket that is historically significant. There's only one graded, so that's kind of gives it. In 1935, I doubt there's going to be a ton of them that hit the market.
They'll be popping up left and right.
But anyway, the auction started at 9:30 or 7:30 in the morning my time, and they go lot by lot, and you have to be there when that lot comes up that you want to bid on, and not a lot of people are going to go through that hassle. No. It literally lasts for hours. And so when I look at all of the tickets and where they finished in the Hunt auction, there's nothing that jumps out at me that says, wow, that was a lot more than what I thought it was going to.
Right. You think it's because of the minor factor? Yeah.
Everything was reasonable. And even the Aaron, the market has gone up a lot on that, because 2-3 years ago, that ticket would have sold for $2,000 or $3,000. So it's still gone up, ridiculous, 8-9x, but that's way lower than I thought it would have compared to other auctions. So, I guess my takeaway for this is that the auction format really matters when it comes to this kind of thing. And I'm not sure why anybody ever does the live auction format anymore. It just doesn't.
No, it seems outdated.
Yeah, outdated. Like, everybody who bids on these things expects to be extremely convenient, and not have to work for it. So I don't know. But it was interesting. That I'm glad that it didn't get a lot of interest, because then I actually won something, and I haven't won something in an auction for a long time. So that was cool. Have you bid on anything recently?
Nothing. Not really. I actually bought that Roethlisberger debut. I kind of regretted it a little bit, but since it was only a few out there, I think it was a 9. And I kind of want to get it autographed.
What was that on eBay?
It was on It was on one of the auctions. Let me see if I can find it. There was only 2 graded, and this was a 9, and the other ones were a 10. And I thought, I could get it autographed, and I think Roethlisberger's a top 10 quarterback, or right on the border.
Is that his NFL debut? What team did they play?
Ravens? They played the Ravens. They're on the road against the Ravens.
Oh, okay.
So I bought that one a while back. I got Giannis. I got his debut autographed. I don't know if I showed that last time. It was a mid-9 auto 10, so it looks,
Oh, yeah. That's one of those that's going to go at Heritage. You should 50, 60,000.
So, I'm probably going to start selling a few of these things. Another ticket I thought was crazy on Heritage, and I have one of these. I got Larry Bird signed. I sent mine into Magic, and it's just like, right.
Yeah, so that was another one I was going to bring up, and I've beaten the I don't want to beat a dead horse with autographs, but so you take a ticket that costs, I don't know how much that one costs, but I would imagine $2,000-$3,000. Is that right? Just raw.
They're pretty rare, and once they get bought, they disappear forever. They're one of those tickets. So I'm sure if somebody auction that off, no autograph on eBay, I would have guessed it'd go for like 6 or 8, maybe 10 grand. Yeah, something like that now. Because a couple years ago, they're going for like 1,000, really? Something like that. Yeah. So they are pretty rare, and it's Bird Mag, probably one of the most iconic basketball games.
It's a great ticket. no question.
Yeah.
That was kind of the beginning of it, that rivalry. But these guys are both alive. They're both signing. It's both
And they
accessible.
signed, like Bird Magic
Right.
they will
Yeah.
sign.
And so you should absolutely get both of them to sign it and then sell
Right.
it.
And as a collector, even before, I didn't even think about selling it. I thought it was just really cool to get Bird and Magic on that ticket. Because, like, I'm going to get a ticket autographed. It better be 100% for that player.
Yeah.
It's all him, and that's all anybody thinks about when they think of that game. So any debut or just an iconic game where that he was the guy, and I think that fits the bill where Bird and Magic, that's all you think about in that game and nothing else.
So how much is it to get those guys? Like,
Bird at 200 or 300 each, basically.
So you take an $8,000 ticket, you get 200 or 300 each, you send it to PSA, it's $200, and you sell it for 50,000.
I mean, I never would have thought I'd go for 50. I was thinking more like 15, maybe 20 max.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard not to do that, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But I think that everybody's thinking that way, and it's going to be a rush to get them out.
Right. And then, if there's opportunity and you see the profit margin, then here comes the rush for it.
Yeah. So last time we talked, you mentioned you were considering selling a couple big tickets. Any progress on that?
Well, I want to get your thoughts on this because when I heard this news, I was like, wow, this is big. So I was talking to a Heritage guy yesterday, a couple times this past week, and he notified me that in the February auction, it is highly, highly likely that there's going to be a Jackie debut for sale.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's big.
So, I was going to sell some items in the next auction, but I think if that truly happens, which he says he's very confident it's going to, I think it's going to make major, major news as long as it's a decent looking ticket.
Yeah, I track those, and I've found 9 individual Jackie Robinson debuts in tracking it by the seat number. I contacted the Baseball Hall of Fame to see if they had any, and they don't have one in their collection. So I wonder if it's one that's known or if it's new to the hobby.
I don't know. All he said was, "Oh yeah, we're going to have one of those in the February auction." I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty confident.
Wow.
And the way I see it is, I mean, what's your guesstimate on that right now?
300,000 to 500,000.
Right. And if it somehow even went crazy, I mean, we've been making comments about these tickets, and they go for 3, 4, 5 times what we think. I mean, if that goes for 500, or say it went for $1 million. I think a rising tide, lifts all boats, and people are really going to say, holy cow, and the gold rush really might be on, or the ticket may not happen, or the sale doesn't go for as much as we think and it doesn't make much waves. But I feel like if that thing goes to auction, it's going to go for a crazy, crazy number, and people are really going to start talking and looking at tickets.
Yeah, because full disclosure, I own one. So,
right, and I own one too.
Okay, so let's get that out there. We have a bias. Definitely have a bias. But to me, that's the Wagner T206 of tickets. It's like 100%. The cream of the crop, the best of the best. So anybody who is a ticket collector or in this to get the best of the best, no other opportunity than that one. That's it.
Right.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. And at the same time, if you are also in that auction with your stuff, it might be the best time to get eyeballs on it. Don't you think?
Right. Maybe. I didn't know if it'd be best to be in that auction or the one right after that auction.
Yeah.
Where people say, holy cow, look what this did. And then what else is out there? Oh, there's a Jordan debut for sale in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Where, if a Jackie goes for 500, 600, whatever it would do, well, what does that make a Jordan worth then?
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting because you're right. It could kind of spark a lot more interest, and it could actually make like mainstream news. And that could, prompt a lot more ticket collectors into the
Right. And people, once things start hitting the mainstream, then it's like, oh, you get people coming out that never looked at tickets as buying or investing or collecting, and now say, oh, yeah, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then the speculators come in and they bid it up even more. So that's kind of where I am on. I was like, maybe I want to wait or be in that auction before, but then again, I don't want to miss, like we talk about, where, oh, I wait too long and then people start getting send their tickets to PSA, getting them to the auction, and now there's more out there. Supply is kind of overwhelmed demand a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, and can you talk to the consignee or the whoever's your contact is at Heritage and kind of get a gauge for that? Do they tell you that because you don't want to, if there's other ones that are similar to yours, you don't want to,
Yeah, I think if there's one exactly, they wouldn't put it in there, but they may put one in that's a different grade. I'm not going to sell my Jackie ticket, but there's some other ones I'd like to sell that are definitely high dollar. I would kind of cover all the costs. Right.
So I saw that you posted on Instagram a few days ago about offering a trade for your
right.
Jordan
I want
debut.
a red debut. If anybody's out there with the red Jordan debut, I want one. I got a Kobe and a different Jordan debut that we could talk about, but people, the Reds if you get them, they disappear. You never see them again, and that's one of the tickets.
So what was the offer? You were saying your Kobe debut and your Jordan blue,
right? Depending on the condition of the red, I would be willing to do that deal. So
yeah, interesting. No takers.
Nothing. Nobody. No.
Well, those are pretty tough to come by. I'm sure there's a lot of people who wish that they could get involved in that kind of trade.
Right.
But yeah, that's wow. Cool. That's interesting.
So I thought that would spark your interest. So we'll see. A lot of times Heritage, if you look they'll put the future auction stuff up without the picture.
Right.
So I've kind of been keeping an eye on, see if something pops up soon. But at the end of February is their next big sports collector auction, where they probably send out the catalog and everything. And I think everything has to be in by next week or two to be in that auction.
So you have to decide by then if you're gonna.
Yeah, you'd have to decide by definitely before Christmas.
Yeah, and you're still on the fence as to whether you're gonna send anything in or.
Yeah, I need your advice.
I think you should. Well, if assuming there's none of these other Tom Brady's in there, I think you should move some of those. But that's just me, and I'm not a big fan of autographs over Tom Brady. So
right.
But if this kind of money's on the table, I mean, it makes sense to take advantage of it. But since you have two Jordan debuts, and I did notice that there is another one that's coming up. It's in it's a smaller auction, but and their website's awful. I forget the name. The name's escaping me right now, but it's coming up in a couple of weeks, and it's a blue. It's similar to yours,
right?
And so that'd be interesting to see where that lands. It probably isn't going to get a lot of attention, but
I'm curious. Let me know which one that's on. Definitely like to. I'm sure we can talk about the next. Fall.
Yeah. I forgot to even look at it and when that's ending. But it's Huggins and Scott. Have you ever?
Oh, Huggins and Scott. Okay.
Yeah. So I noticed it in there, and I'm not sure when it's coming up, but that's the first one that I've seen at auction in a while. So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that'd definitely be a good. And I just don't know what these tickets will do. Like, would the next Gretzky go for more than 100? Will go for less?
Yeah, we saw that with the Mantle. That went for 100, and then the next one went for 140. So,
right. It's like, where's the peak? Just like that. Like we talked about that Jordan rookie card. What is the peak? They kept going higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
And then one went crazy high, and then it, came back down.
Yeah. It's hard to gauge, but because of the limited supply,
right.
It's also hard to gauge the values because of the limited supply, and it's hard to tell if it's being manipulated because of the limited supply. So it's, you just have to be careful and collect what you like, just like with cards.
Yeah. It's just, you can't ever be unhappy if you collect what you love.
Right.
If you're just collecting the flip to speculate, well, if you get burned, that's on you.
Yeah,
You
you're
took
setting
that
yourself up
risk.
for a disappointment, but probably going to make some money along the way too.
But yeah, at the other auctions, there's that LeBron debut, full 7, went for 40,
Yeah.
which is what we kind of thought it would go for. I feel like, I think other than the auto, I'd much rather have a 7 for 40 than a Brady signed first TD for 120 any day of the week.
Oh yeah, that I definitely agree with that. I think that the LeBron full is probably one of the more iconic modern tickets out there, don't you think? Like, what else do you think of when you think of modern post 2000? That
I love the Brady. I'm partial to the Brady substituting for Bledsoe game. I don't know why. It's one of the first tickets I bought. Everybody chases the debut. I love that ticket.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other iconic post 90s. What do you think? Post 90s iconic tickets are out there that you love.
Post 90s. Yeah, other than debuts, other than postseason, and yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to
think about that. Might be another topic for another call.
Yeah. We could go through each decade really, but if you're looking at, I separate them kind of as vintage and then modern. And modern is anything with a barcode on it that was scanned. That's like where modern started, right around 2001 ish. And so go before that, then you expect it to be torn. And if it isn't torn, then it's worth more because it's a full ticket. Whereas after that, it's like, everything should be a full ticket, really.
I'm not a Kobe guy, but I think his 81-point game I love that ticket just for Kobe. Because it's a home game. It's a Laker ticket. It looks cool. It's the second highest scoring game, probably the most famous game of his career.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them out there. They're not, but if you're a Kobe, you can get one at a reasonable price.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of more of a common, something that's affordable. What's reasonable at least.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how these go that are, that are common, there's lots of them out there, and also high demand where people want them. There's a ton of Kobe fans, and that's a really cool ticket to own if you're a diehard.
What I think a cool ticket to own that it's kind of a random item is the Dale Earnhardt last race ticket.
Mm-hmm.
The race that
a couple of weeks ago.
He died. And, those are out there, but like a full ticket, things like that. I tried to buy the one on eBay, and for some reason I forgot to put the offer in. I have a couple of them, not as high as grade, but I'm like, he's probably the most iconic NASCAR driver of all time, and his most famous race that he died in. That'll be one of the most unforgettable races of all time.
Yeah.
So, that's another one I like that's very, very random.
Mm-hmm.
The Miracle on Ice ticket is an awesome ticket. That's pretty common. Not, I would say common for that age. That was an 80. Yeah, I think 80. That's kind of an iconic one.
So Ticket Stub News has some suggestions. Ohtani, Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't really have, there's only a couple, right? Because they were all digital. And so you don't really see.
There's only like one or two debuts. I think he debuted in Denver. And then, it had to be a box office ticket. So that's incredibly rare. But it's that, at those modern, that ultra modern is sometimes they don't have tickets. You had to go to the box office and get them.
And part of being iconic is that it has to be something that you see all the time, like the LeBron debut.
Right.
Do
you like the box office better than the season? What would you prefer?
I like the baby. I like the one with the baby on it. Because I just think that that's just a reminder of how tickets were not originally produced to be collected. It had some other purpose, and it's a unique, quirky thing about tickets that I just like. I think it's cool.
And it's better than having an opponent and his jersey on the ticket. It's like kind of a neutral feel to the ticket.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
better than the alternative.
And then the box office versions are just so boring, and
Yeah, it's very
they all look
generic.
the same. So it's not, it's not exciting. And
Right.
that one's different. So when you see it at first glance, you know exactly what it is, and that's
Mhm.
iconic. You know,
Right.
and so that's kind of where what I think. Also the Trout debut, even though it's really common, it's you know exactly what you see as soon as you glance at it.
Right. Yeah, the box office version of that is pretty nice looking too. Actually, I kind of prefer the box office version, but yeah, that's kind of the fun thing about tickets. Like, what version do you like? Do you like the box
Mm-hmm.
office version better, the season ticket? It's
Yeah,
different tastes, different preferences.
yeah, yeah. The Derek Jeter debut, that's a tough one. That's a Mariner
Mhm.
ticket, so it's kind of 1995. But there's also box office versus season ticket. And season ticket holder one looks great,
Right.
but it's a Mariner ticket, so it's kind of
Right. Yeah, it makes it always kind of awkward.
yeah, yeah.
Last thing I want to touch on, I saw this the other day. I've never seen this before, and I thought it was really interesting. There's a Jordan debut on eBay that popped up and got bought immediately. I don't know if
I
you
saw
saw
that.
it.
Yeah, I
And it
saw
was,
that.
if you look at it, it's got the Blackhawks emblem, and it's yellow and black, and it was just so random weird. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd buy this in a heartbeat
Mm-hmm.
for that. But it was just something I hadn't seen before, and I wonder,
Mm-hmm.
just curious, like, if you ever seen anything like that, or
Yeah,
what your thoughts are on that.
I saw it too, and I thought the exact same thing. And then I thought, how many Blackhawks tickets? And there's probably people out there that know this, whether or not Blackhawks stock could have been used to print Bulls tickets.
Right.
That's just too risky for me.
Yeah, I guess you start to think of it as like, what? I mean, what is the likelihood? And then I guess you start thinking about ticket fraud and
right. And somebody had some blank stock and they just printed it after the fact or something. I have no idea if that's what happened or if that could have happened.
right.
Or if they actually printed, but it just creates too many questions for me to even bother.
The seller had, tons of feedback, but yeah, I thought that was very random, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I thought the same thing. That was just a weird. I've never seen that before, where it was a team's, a different team, same venue.
Right.
So it's like, if you look at the Jordan ticket, it looks the same. It just has a little Bulls logo on it instead of the Blackhawks. So
Right.
obviously that's their stock, and maybe they ran out. Who knows? But I've never seen that before, so I would not want to buy it and send it to PSA and they reject it, and find out that it was printed after the fact or something. Who knows?
Right.
But it's interesting. Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think this may be our longest one, but definitely some big things we touched on. I don't know if you have anything else to share or discuss.
I think we covered it. We covered just about everything that I had noted. So maybe in a couple of weeks I'll have some. I'll get my night game ticket and be able to show it off, or if we get anything else, or you give us an update on the auctions that you're going to engage in.
I'm torn, but I feel like I need to do something, so we'll see.
I think you should. Then we'd have something more to talk about.
True. We can keep an eye on something.
Party when it goes up for auction.
Everything will go bust, and I'll be totally disappointed that I waited too long to sell what I wanted to sell.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
All right. Well, have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, likewise. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Yeah, probably a couple of weeks. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Later.